Hi, welcome to the Russ Events Courtside Podcast. I'm your host, Vince. Before we go into the video, please hit that like and subscribe button down below if you enjoy our videos. Let's get right into it. Yes, indeed. Let's get right into it. I'm your host, Vince, and unfortunately, our host, Russ, is not going to be able to make it to today's live show, but we are still going to talk hoops. That's what we do here on the Courtside Podcast. Thank you guys once again, for making it to today's show where we are covering the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Minnesota Timberwolves today. So, obviously, not the game that some of us expected, right? I have to admit, I was one of those people who thought Minnesota, after what they did to the Lakers, after what they did to OKC, I thought, you know what? I'll give them the benefit of the doubt this time. They've been underdogs all playoff long, and they've been doing their thing. I also thought and believed a lot in Anthony Edwards. I thought that Anthony Edwards was going to show up a lot better than what we saw in this game. And we'll cover kind of what happened that we, at least just watching the game, what I thought kind of took place that led to him not necessarily finishing the game the way that I'm sure he's capable of. But in terms of the results, as you guys can see here, OKC did end up taking a 1-0 series lead so far in this game. They ended up winning 114-88. Um, and yeah, man, we're gonna get right into this. We're gonna go quarter for quarter, half for half, whatever we got to do, man. This was a very interesting game to say the least. But first, before we go into this, of course, you guys, if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. It's free. We're not asking for much, man. We of course appreciate the support, and of course, if you do enjoy the videos as well, go ahead and hit a like down below. Share with your friends. Every now and then, we're going to be doing lives. Outside of that, we do have videos coming out pretty frequently as well. So, of course, if you enjoy those, go ahead and check them out as well. All right, guys, let's get right into this game. Let's kind of take a look and see what we got here, okay? All right. So, as we can see here, we got the score 114-88, but this wasn't a blowout the way that the final result was, right? When you look at that first and that second quarter of the first half, Minnesota was actually doing pretty well. They managed to hold OKC to just 20 points in that first quarter and then 24 points in that second quarter, right? However, something that I feel like did kind of get the best of them, they weren't scoring much either. Even though OKC's offense wasn't necessarily doing anything, their defense was doing something all game long. Okay. Um, and as you can see here, I mean, just even looking at the stat sheet for the Minnesota Timberwolves, as we take a look, field goal percentage wise as a team, they shot 35% from the field, 29% from three. Goodness gracious. And when they actually managed to make it to the free throw line, they shot only 71%. As far as their starters go, as you can see here, you didn't get much outside of Julius Randle. Um, and you know what? To be honest with you, this was actually one of those reasons why I thought that Minnesota might have a much better chance at taking game one than I think maybe others had thought, primarily because I saw that Julius Randle was a problem. I saw that this was kind of one of those anomaly, type of series, really, or really just playoff season that he's really showed up. He's really done something in terms of production that we haven't really seen from him in previous postseason play, either because he's been injured or he just has had a lack of production overall. But in this particular game, he did show up. He actually had 20 points in that first half. It's the second half that clearly really just, that's the reason why they say this game is a full 48-minute game and not just, you know, half. You don't win the game in a quarter, a half, third quarters. We've seen plenty of teams go up and just completely drop the lead because they can't accomplish a full 48 months of solid basketball play. Meanwhile, as far as OKC goes, I mean, even with the poor start that they had in that first half, they really turned it up and turned it on in that second half. They ended up finishing the game 50% from the field, 52% from three. In that first half, they didn't really attempt a lot. I think they only attempted like 8 or 9 threes, and they really didn't attempt a lot of threes in this game either. But they still shot a very efficient 52% as a team. And again, those free throws, man, we're going to talk about that here in a second. But those free throws, they might be close. They're not too far from the Timberwolves free throws. But when we talk about impact of when these fouls are occurring and when these free throws are being done, that right there is kind of the straw, the camel's back. But nonetheless, man, OKC, they definitely did and took care of home court as they are supposed to, as the overwhelming favorites, not only in this series but for the remaining teams left in the playoffs. Um, and they definitely did what they did. Again, one of the reasons why I was worried was because they just got through playing a game 7 not long ago, like less than 48 hours ago. When they were playing in that game 7, you could see early on in that game, it was kind of similar to this game, if I'm really thinking about it. That first half, OKC really wasn't making a much of a difference in that first half against the Nuggets. And then it wasn't until really, I want to say that's maybe the like 3 minutes and 10 seconds of that second quarter. And then the rest of that second half, they completely just obliterated the doors open against the Nuggets. Very similar to that we see in this game, right? The only difference is they didn't have that 3 minutes and 10 seconds in that second quarter spur that they had against the Nuggets. Instead, they turned it up in that entire second half. And these are those moments you got to give it up to the coach Dagnall, right? We don't really hear much about his coaching. We don't know much about him. He's not one of those glamour coaches that you just hear about all the time, just like the OKC Thunder. We don't really hear much about them, even though they've obviously had the best record in the league and they're the last number 1 seed remaining in the playoffs this season. But Dagnall's ability to be able to make in-game adjustments as well as halftime adjustments is phenomenal. There was even a moment when during the game, ESPN had actually showed the halftime coaching that both opposition coaches from both respective teams had focused on for that half. And you could hear Dagnall talk about how bad their offense was, right? But also praise their defense. And you could see, even though OKC was down by 4 to end that first half, they were actually sitting pretty. I mean, if you really think about it, Minnesota definitely had times and opportunities to really solidify themselves, step their foots on the necks of the Thunder, but they just didn't do it. And we're gonna talk about that, right? Because at the end of the day, man, this is a game where even though it was a blowout, sometimes you're gonna see that. We've seen plenty of games in this season's postseason where some of these teams they'll blow the doors out of some of these other teams, and the next thing you know, they'll mess around and and lose the next game, right? So when you talk about a blowout, a team is really more just wanting to win at all costs than to really care about anything else. In this case for OKC, considering once again they just got through playing a game 7 not even 48 hours ago, and they were still able to have the energy to play in this game 1 against the Timberwolves, you got to give them respect. But yeah, with that being said, you guys, let's kind of talk a little bit about what we saw. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm not the hugest OKC fan here, but I'm always going to be subjective, right? I just love talking hoops. I do it all the time, every day, and I'm going to keep things very subjective here with the game, what I saw. So there's no hate towards your favorite team, favorite player, or anything like that. This is just from the eye test, okay? Let's kind of talk about it, man. In that first quarter, I can't tell you enough how annoying it was to see the appearance of Shea, free throw merchant, Gilgeous-Alexander. Okay. There are moments in this game that the Timberwolves look like they were really rolling. They started the first quarter off on an 8-0 run, and then OKC kind of came a little bit back, but the Timberwolves never relinquished that lead in that first quarter. Arguably, the only reason why OKC finished that first quarter only down by 3 was literally because of the fact that they were getting all of these trash calls from the referees. I'm just going to call it how it is. Okay. A lot of it was done by Shea, and a lot of it was done by some of the other players, but it was primarily Shea. We already know the story this season when it comes to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Okay. He's the person that has been known to try to draw and foul bait and get contact and get his butt to the free throw line to get some free throws, obviously, but also put the opposition in foul trouble. And we saw that happen in that first quarter. Rudy Gobert, early foul trouble in the first like 3 or 4 minutes of the game. He already had 2 fouls, which was trash. And then you had, fouls by some of the other players, obviously. But like I said, this was a game, or at least in the first quarter, where the Timberwolves really had the opportunity to go up at least, I want to say, by like 9 to 11. But the amount of fouls, the early fouls at that, like I'm pretty sure they were plus on free throws all the way from about the 8.5 minute mark, if I'm not mistaken, meaning that they literally put the Timberwolves in foul trouble in the first 4.5 minutes of this game. It's kind of hard to play that defense that we've seen the Timberwolves play, which is very physical, very switchy, things of that nature. So with all these players getting in foul trouble, it kind of disrupted, I felt like, the Timberwolves' initial game plan going in defensively to stay physical, to be able to, really give it to the Thunder players, which we did see at least happen for the most part in that first half. But when it comes to that second half, completely disappeared, completely. So yeah, I thought the first quarter, man, it was one of those first quarters that was really ugly. I mean, I loved what I was seeing so far. You could see even Anthony Edwards. He was very, very good to start the game. And then there was a moment there where when he was driving to the bucket, Alex Caruso was trying to draw a charge. It's not his fault this happened, but on Ant's way down from the little layup he was trying to go after, he ended up twisting his ankle slightly on Caruso's foot. Like, you hate to see it, but it is basketball. It does happen. But I definitely feel like that was a huge contribution to the reason why Anthony Edwards wasn't as aggressive as we are used to seeing him, as well as why the heck he just didn't really show up after that. Because one could argue, after that slight tweak to his ankle and he had to go back to start the second quarter, when he came back, he was thrown out of his rhythm. He didn't get much lift on his shot. It took him a little bit during the game once he came back to just get a rhythm back, but also to find his shot back. Um, and that is something we want to pay attention to as well. We don't know if that ankle is going to be something that's going to be a problem for the rest of this series. They got another game coming up in literally 2 days. I'm pretty sure less than another 48 hours. So obviously he's going to have to treat that ankle as best as he can. But we definitely need to see another version of Ant. We've seen it so many times. There's a reason why Anthony Edwards is more than likely your favorite player's favorite player, right? We hear it all the time. He's Jordan-esque. He's got that Kobe in him. He's got that dog in him. He's got that charisma. He's very, you know, going after everybody. They even put up the list of all these different, legends that are in their later years. Keep in mind that Anthony Edwards has beaten in the last 2 playoff seasons, or two playoff years, I guess you could say. But it is a little bit out of context because, again, didn't technically beat Steph Curry. Steph Curry played literally 13 minutes in that series, and that was it. So, Luka Doncic wasn't really the healthiest either. LeBron James wasn't the healthiest either. But regardless, man, Anthony Edwards has to show up. I mean, one of the biggest issues that we notice here is that fourth quarter. That fourth quarter, there was no Ant to be seen whatsoever. I mean, my goodness. For somebody as clutch as we've heard him to be, and for somebody who's very Jordan-esque, he was not Jordan-esque in that fourth quarter. I'll tell you that much. He very much disappeared. He did not step up the way that I think a lot of us had hoped or thought that he would eventually do. Um, and yeah, he just didn't do what he needed to do, obviously, to get it taken care of. And that's kind of why he really finished the game well below his averages in terms of playoffs. Again, when we look at the box score, he only finished with 18 points. It was a minus 23. That's the worst plus minus overall. So that just goes to show you he had no impact whatsoever in this game. At least I believe personally from the time that he got that injury. Had that injury not happened, who knows, right? But we can't do that what if game because at the end of the day, it's all about wins and losses. And he just didn't have enough to get that win. With that being said, though, a lot of things that I noticed with Ant, specifically since we're on the topic of the fourth quarter, he didn't exactly, it wasn't just that he didn't score, and it wasn't just that he was not aggressive. He seemed almost overly passive or overly thinking. Like there were moments and times when you saw him, you could kind of just see that he wasn't comfortable. I give a lot of credit to OKC's defense. We've heard great things about it all season long, and it really showed in this matchup. OKC had put so many different types of players on Anthony Edwards in this matchup that it definitely made him overthink the situation. See, the problem with him last year in the Western Conference Finals, he just had no gas. He had no energy playing against the Dallas Mavericks, going up against Kyrie Irving, talking all that talk at 22 years old. He learned his lesson. And this one, he definitely looks a lot more conditioned, but you have to wonder, is health going to be an issue, right? Because this isn't the first time we've seen him go down with some type of lower leg injury so far this playoff season. We've seen him with the Warriors have some issues. And so we definitely want to take a very clear look at that specific situation for him. But again, man, the fourth quarter, he just seemed very passive. He seemed very confused, like he was still trying to figure out the defense. And we've heard him describe this before too, right? Game one, even though I can't remember if they lost or if they won that first game against the Lakers, but either way, I know that he had mentioned and said it was confusing, right? Like, oh, they defended me in a certain way that was confusing. And some of us, including myself, was kind of like, I don't know why you're saying this. Like, if this is confusing, that's a problem, right? But then what ended up happening? He figured it out. And that's why it's a playoff series. Even though you could have a really piss poor game one, game two, any game, it's a series. It's a game of adjustments. And this is a game that clearly the Timberwolves have a lot to adjust to. The good news is hope is not all lost. You don't win a series by going up 1-0. You win a series by being the first team to win four. So there is still hope for the Timberwolves at the end of the day, but they're obviously going to need a lot more production from Anthony Edwards, not only in the fourth quarter, but overall. He's just got to be more consistent. Okay. Now, one thing I wanted to mention here too, as we talked about that OKC defense, right? If we look at that box score, again, this is really what got them that win is their overall defense for the whole 48 minutes. Even with them being down by 4, they still arguably were right where they wanted to be, right? Their offense hadn't caught up. One could even say that they weren't able to do this primarily because of the fact that they just got through playing game 7. So it took them a little bit of time to adjust to get their legs under them, even though they're young. That is still a possibility of what could have happened. And then you had a really bad start from Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I believe he was 2 for 13 in that first half, only had 11 points. He was very inefficient, but obviously he pulled up in that second half and really did well. He ended up the game 2 for 27, which again is not good. I have a rule here. If you score as many points as field goal attempts or pretty darn close to it, don't get it twisted. You did not have yourself a good game. Okay. Let's really call it a stack here because without those free throw attempts, okay, 11 for 14, you're not getting that 31 points, right? You were lucky to even get the 20 if it wasn't for the fact that your team literally feeds you all the time. You have the ball in your hand all the time, so you literally have multiple opportunities to go score, even if that means you're inefficient, but your team is so deep enough that it's almost like even if you have a piss poor shooting night, you have other players on your roster who you can trust. We saw early on in this first half, even though they were only down by 4, Isaiah Hardenstein really was the team leader in that first half in terms of scoring. He actually led the team majority of that first half in scoring. It was keeping them afloat, right? Because hadn't showed up at that time. Jalen hadn't showed up at that time. Shea barely showed up at that time. So it was really Hardenstein that kind of kept the Thunder afloat in that first half. It wasn't until that second half that we saw great defense from Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams really should be, I mean, I'll just say it. He really was like kind of the MVP of this game, at least, right? 5 steals, and they were all impactful steals. Very timely steals at the right moments in that second half that led to fast break points, that led to easier buckets, something that the Thunder were not getting in that first half. at all. And a lot of that had to do with, again, the defense led by Jalen Williams. Then you also had moments from Chet Holmgren, right? He has these weird times where sometimes you could bully him and other times you can't stop. Like he's going to stop you at all times. Dante DiVincenzo coming from around the bucket, trying to lay it up. Chet's right there to block it. And then if it's not a block, he's there defending pretty well around the paint overall. So I just thought this was a great overall game from the others. Everybody not named Shea, right? Shea obviously had a great second half, but in terms of a game, I can't say he had a great game overall because of the inefficient scoring. And me personally, again, you want to call me a hater, you can, but I'm not really one with the foul baiting. I just think that that's something that needs to be completely gone from the game. I understand that it's a skill to learn how to draw the foul, but leaning on that to the point where you're taking these trash, ugly shots that you're just kind of like, what are you doing? I don't agree with that. There are numbers of times, especially in that first half, Shea was going to take a layup, but he did it awkwardly because he expected to get contact or he expected to get a call that ended up happening his way primarily in the second half because he was getting a lot more calls in that second half than he was in the first half. And it showed, right? But overall, the defense, man, I mean, as a team, they had 13 steals, 3 blocks, and they forced Minnesota to 17 turnovers. I don't know about you, but there's not a lot of times a team in the playoffs specifically is going to win a game off 17 turnovers. You got to do better than that. And as far as the bench goes, we already know this team is depth is there. Sometimes the weird thing with the Thunder is their depth doesn't always show up in the box score in terms of impact. The impact from the OKC's depth has to do again defensively because this is a defensive minded team that just happens to also have really good scoring weapons around, especially when they're hot. So with that in mind, you got to understand that because this is a defensive minded team, with them being able to have the amount of wings, the amount of depth that they have, they can throw multiple bodies only with the purpose of just guarding while still having the reliable offensive punches that they have in Shea being out there, as well as Jalen Williams. So you can stagger their minutes together. And then you also have Chet there as well, who has his moments, even though most of the time in the game, he's not even looking for his shot. A lot of the times, some of their key role players, made very timely buckets and made it very efficient. That's how you're able to get a really good game overall as a team on a night where Shea wasn't as efficient because you had really efficient play from Chet Holmgren. You had really efficient play from Isaiah Hardenstein, even from the bench. Kendrick Williams came in looking ready to go during that run that they went on. Alex Caruso, timely threes. I'm sure the Lakers really wish they didn't give him up. I could tell you that much as a fan. So I mean, again, this team, they just keep surprising people. Even when you doubt them, even if when you think that OKC is not going to make it to the finals, right? They keep showing us reasons to keep believing. And in this case for the Wolves, man, I mean, again, the series isn't over by a long shot. You obviously got blitzed. You obviously have a lot of things to think about, a lot of adjustments that you guys need to make. Let's just see how game 2 goes. One thing and the last thing that I really got to bring up, man, and it's not OKC's fault entirely, right? Because in order for a person or a team to do something egregious, like sometimes we see, and it's most of the time, obviously, SGA, because we don't really see a lot of the other Thunder teams looking for the contact the same way that SGA does, and then getting those calls the same way SGA does. But we got to ask this question, man. Are we going to get a series that's predicated on the refs? Because I'm telling you right now, the ratings have always been going down from what we've heard in the past, whoever knows how many years, right? Ratings are already down right now that the Lakers are out. Ratings are down now that the Boston Celtics are out. Ratings are down now that the Golden State Warriors are out. You got nothing but small market teams with the exception of the Knicks. That's why a lot of people want the Knicks to win, right? But I just got to wonder, man, as a Laker fan, I've seen what it's like playing against OKC, but specifically in OKC. I've seen what it's like as the opposite team going up against OKC and the frustration that comes with it because of the refs. For example, the Lakers had played against the Thunder, I think the last game of the season, which was in April. The first game that they played just before, because it was a back-to-back, they won, and they won very convincingly. That second game, it was a nick and tuck game all the way through to the fourth quarter. And then out of nowhere, the referees wanted to get in their feelings and kick Luka Doncic out. And ever since that moment, the last 7.5 minutes of that fourth quarter was wraps. Okay. It was wraps. That game was already over the moment they kicked out Luka, because it was, I'll even go as far as say this, say it wasn't that moment. The moment after that, when they then eventually teed up Vanderbilt, when he literally was just standing his ground, that right there, it does a lot, because the game of basketball is not just physical, it's mental, right? We've seen a lot of mental lapse even from the Timberwolves in this game. Anthony Edwards, even when he was trying to get physical into SGA several times, he was doing too much in certain incidents, trying to intimidate him versus just playing in the flow of the game and the flow of your defense. That's a level of maturity that I thought he had finally got to. I still slightly think he has that, but he needs to look at himself in the mirror and he has to ask himself, how great do I really want to be? I just got through making the Eastern Conference Finals last season and I came short. I just got back this season and you just got through being told by LeBron James a month ago or however long ago it was, a few weeks ago, go get it. It's your turn. Don't stop here, right? You got the path to prosperity. You got to go get it. You got to be more mature in these certain moments, and you can't let your emotions get the best of you at all. And I know it's easier said than done, because in the moment, especially on the road, you're going to have those moments where you're just kind of like, you know, F it. Straight up, F it. I'm just going to do what I got to do. I'm going to assert myself because you're not going to punk me, right? We even saw that with Julius Randle. Julius Randle is a very physical player. Okay. He's a bruising big man who is very good when you allow him to have his way. One of the great adjustments that I saw OKC do, though, in this game, especially in the second half, that led Randall only scoring 8 points in that second half total. And pretty much all that was in the fourth quarter, because I don't even think he scored in the third quarter. A lot of that had to do with the adjustments on being more aggressive to him. You see moments where Lou Dort was guarding him and bothering him, at least annoying him to the point where he didn't just have his way. Then you also saw a lot of the other wings, and you saw Chet, and you saw Isaiah Hartenstein being able to give timely stops and support whenever he made his way into the paint. So he didn't just have a wide open look and just do whatever he wanted to do. Instead, he was able to just pretty much try to create whatever shot he could, but not really have any success. Not to mention, one could argue, outside of his crazy, rare and random first half where he made 5 threes in that half, which was a career high. And anytime you see something say career high, you kind of have to assume, okay, the come down is coming down, and that pretty soon, if it's not by the end of this game, it's probably by the next game. Because if you're getting a career high in something and you're not known for doing something like making threes as efficient or anything like that, it's gonna happen, right? And so you kind of felt like Julius Randle was gonna have some type of setback a little bit, but I mean, hey, it is what it is. He didn't make a single three and didn't even attempt a single three in that second half. And even though he was the most efficient 3-point shooter in that game. But overall, man, I would definitely say the refs, please, for the love of God, please do not get in the way of this potential really good series. I could see this series, even though we see the results here and it is a blowout, I could honestly see this series going 7 games. I don't know about you guys, but I could see it going 7 games, primarily because we know that is possible. We saw the Denver Nuggets take this OKC Thunder team to 7 games. That was with a team with no bench. You had last year's MVP, Nikola Jokic, and then you had a little bit of this person, Michael Porter Jr. You had a little bit of Jamal Murray, who really disappeared in times. You had a lot of Aaron Gordon until he unfortunately got injured by Game 7. So we've seen the Nuggets be able to put the Thunder to Game 7. I thought, okay, maybe OKC is more vulnerable than we all expected. But at the same time, maybe that just goes to show how great Jokic really is, how much of a real MVP Jokic is. Because if he can lead this depleted Nuggets team after they literally just let go of their coach, who ironically was in ESPN's show talking about pre-game in the game and then post-game in the game, and that being Michael Malone. I mean, talk about just hilarious, right? Hilarious timing. After the Nuggets literally get sent home less than 48 hours ago, hey, let's go ahead and rub it in your face and let's put Michael Malone on the screen talking basketball just to remind you he is still around. Let's do that, right? Oh my goodness. Um, but yeah, man, I just, I want to see some clean basketball. I just hope that this is a series where we see a lot of back and forth. I hope that this is a series where we see a lot of great adjustments, not only game to game, but in game, half, quarter, whatever. I want to see a lot better from Minnesota. You guys had all the opportunities to take this game one. One could argue certain factors you should have got it, but at the same time, when you turn the ball over 17 times, man, don't be surprised when you lose. Okay. And it's just one of those situations, right? You just got to hope you do better. And you got to make those correctable adjustments because at the end of the day, you can still correct these problems, right? It's not far lost, it's not far gone. You're still in a position where you are able to um, make certain adjustments and make a better impact the following game. I will say, though, I'm almost leaning to Minnesota's going to have to get this game two. If you don't get game two, it might be over for you, honestly, in like five. You might get gentlemen swept. I'm sorry. I mean, OKC is just looking that dominant against you guys in terms of this matchup. They could win in five. I want this to go 6 or 7. We'll see if what I would like to see is going to happen or not. You guys let me know in the comment section down below. Do you want to see this game 5, 6, 7? Do you guys want to see OKC win this? Do you guys want to see the Thunder? I said the Thunder. Do you guys want to see Minnesota Timberwolves win this? How do you guys predict game 2 going? Do you think Anthony Edwards may not get off to a good start and might not be around because of this whole injury thing with his ankle? Do you guys think that perhaps OKC is going to really stomp on the Timberwolves' necks for game 2 to really solidify how good this team is overall and how a lot of people who don't want to root for the Thunder need to start getting with the program? You guys let me know down below in the comment section. Of course, again, if you enjoy the video and the content, please hit a like, subscribe if you're not already, and we will have more content out for you. Definitely predict we're going to have some more lives out here for you too. So just so you guys know, I'm going to do my best to try to get the lives scheduled out so you guys know when exactly it's going to come out in case you guys aren't able to catch the game. But if I can't, then I would say, if anything, just make sure you have your notifications on. Have those notifications on will let you know at any point in time we have something uploaded or if we go live. So, of course, if you want to participate and let us know what's going on, then, hey, we can take care of that. But, again, I'm your host, Vince. I appreciate you guys tuning in today's episode. I'm going to go ahead and make my prediction here. I got OKC in 6. I think that they were so dominant in that first quarter. I might have to just say I think they're going to win in 6. If it goes to a game 7, which I honestly have a hard time seeing now, especially with this Anthony Edwards injury, I think OKC either puts them away, honestly, in 5. They're more likely to win in 5 than they are in 7, depending on this injury. If Ant's good to go, okay, hey, we're all good to go. So if Ant's good to go, I will give Minnesota some respect because they definitely deserve at this point. I think that Minnesota could give them a run for their money and possibly win in 6. But if we're talking game 7 on the road in OKC by then, got to give it to the Thunder. All right, that's it for today's episode. Y'all take care and salute.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Russ and Vince Courtside Podcast, where we bring you the hottest NBA moments, discussions, and everything in between. If you like today's show, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a Courtside Podcast again.